Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graeme Spice, and Glen Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur from both the match attending and international supporters' view. Today, we'll speak about the Slavia Prague match last week and the weekend match away against Forest on Sunday, and we'll also look forward to the Liverpool match this weekend. A lot to get through, so let's get on with it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Glenn, how are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. I'm not too bad. Yeah, Tottenham are doing their best to ruin Christmas for me. Hey, it's not all that bad when it's 38 degrees and it's summer. So, yeah, I'm doing okay, mate. I'm doing okay. And how are you, Graham?
I'm okay. Obviously, been a difficult week.
Yeah.
I lost my brother last week. Suddenly, was my younger brother. So it's been a tough week for the family. So I'm holding it together. We have Christmas to get through with the family. So it's good we've got everyone together. I think we're going to need that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I'm very, 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 very sorry to hear that, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Thoughts are with you, mate, and your family. Tough time. Yeah, so I take it our viewers and listeners haven't heard him yet, but they can see him. We've got Richard joining us again from New Zealand. And the reason we wanted you on, Richard, well, A, you're a great guest, but B, you're going to be making a trip back home to England. You're going to be attending a game, or dare you go? Like, are you questioning your commitment to actually going to the game after what we've been seeing? But welcome back, Richard. Good to have you on, mate.
Thanks, guys. Very nice to see you. Yes, I'm going over at the end of next week, Boxing Day, and Graeme and I are going to be meeting up for the Sunderland game.
I don't know. I'm not good luck at the moment. I'm not so sure that I still haven't seen us win a home game this season. So
not many have.
Maybe I should stand outside.
Let you go and have fun. Oh, was it nice? Yeah.
Fun in inverted commas.
Yeah. No, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think let's start at the Slavia game. You didn't attend, right, Graeme? It wasn't one that you went to.
No. I was supposed to have been in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
On the Monday before and flying back Monday evening, and I'd already would have gone. I went away on Sunday, and that's the day that my brother passed. So I ended up coming straight back, and then the rest of it's been a bit of a mess. But I did watch the match.
Yeah.
It was
look off air.
It was on the back of we had two wins and a draw, including that match in a row, and you suddenly think maybe we've turned a corner, got a bit of confidence, start to generate a few chances, the old XG's going up. But I feel like it was a false dawn a little bit. If you really put it under a microscope, yes, we created some chances, but we were not clinical.
Two pens and an own goal, right? As you said.
Yeah, exactly. So like nothing from open play that we put in the net. Not quite as bad as Wolves, who managed to score 3 goals and lose 2-1 last weekend, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, I think first half we were
in the 10.
It worked.
It worked.
Yeah, we were lively, and didn't we have both? Moani was on the left, wasn't he? And then Richarlison up front. I think we started with movement was good. I thought we passed the ball around. There was a lot of good interplay, but still lacking that really. I mean, sometimes I think Kudus is good dribbling with the ball, but sometimes his crossing's not that effective.
Yeah.
But then I don't think anyone's really making the runs that are really suitable for that anyway. I don't.
And for me,
I've not really sat and analysed the patterns much, but I still feel like something's not right.
For me, watching that game, and I'd be keen to get your view, Richard, but the context for me was Slavia Prague hadn't won a Champions League game. They had not won a game in the competition. So I didn't chalk that up to much more than beating a very poor side, in my opinion. But I thought there was some bright sparks. It was nice to see Xavi play in his position. He looked bright, but I think I would have looked bright in the number 10 versus Slavia Prague. I think they were that poor. But Richard, did you watch it, mate? It would have been, a 9 a.m. kickoff for you because it was 7 here.
Yeah, it was quite an easy watch in terms of time. Go back to your point about Slavia being a poor side. They weren't that good, but having said that, when they went forward, we looked very ordinary going backwards.
Yeah.
True.
And the thing about Kudus, for me, is he doesn't have to beat the player 3 times before he gets a cross in, but he seems to always favour his left foot to do that. And so therefore, if he's running down the wing, on his right foot and he's trying to get to the byline, he's got to stop and check and come back on his left, which means often he's got to re-engage the defender or the guy in front of him more than once.
And it makes the runs from the attackers harder as well, because they never know when the ball's coming across.
Correct. And, one of the things that we were good under Ange in the first 10 or 12 games is that kind of breakout where we played the one with passes that were 20 metres, 30 metres, that just split the opposition in half. And now, because of, the way that Kudus plays his game, there's always enough defenders getting back to mark our attackers. And our attackers aren't really making those runs into the penalty area, onto the penalty spot or the 6-yard box. So therefore, everything's pedestrian, and even if the ball doesn't come across, it ends up going back to Kudus for him to do the same thing all over again. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah.
The other thing that we're not doing, which we did a lot of last season and the season before, was those kind of get to the byline and the cutbacks to players running into the box. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of people busting a gut to get in the box.
Well,
to get numbers in the box.
We've
when
talked about this in previous
broken.
episodes. That, for me, is where we're missing a true number 8. A box-to-box will be arriving late and will do the dirty work and get him back. Bergvall could be it, but you're quite right. There's not enough of.
To be fair, also, I think if Richarlison had scored that goal after a couple of minutes, where it hit the goalkeeper, that could have opened the floodgates. Because to be fair,
it was a good save, wasn't it? Actually,
it was a good save.
Because it was one of those, wasn't it, when he wasn't really looking and it was very reactionary. Yeah,
just threw something at it.
Yeah.
I can remember watching Michael Owen, who's a complete other twat in my view.
Good summary.
Sorry, Michael, but you are. But he made a couple of points about finishing on, I think it was Sky TV the other day, and that was that another pundit had said ex-striker did really well to hit the ball on the volley or very quickly as it came to him. But Michael Owen said, but a good striker will always put the ball in the corner. Right. And if you have a look at Richarlison's shot, it's instinctive, but it's kind of straight
too close to the
keeper.
left.
Or to the right, whichever. And that's one of the big differences in a quality striker. And he's absolutely right in my view. And Richarlison isn't a quality striker. Right? He's everything bundled in.
That was one of Kane's strengths, wasn't it? He could always find the corners.
Yeah,
across the keeper.
You have a look at the Bournemouth goals against Man United this week, which was a fabulous game to watch. If you get to see it, if you don't, then have a look at the highlights reel because it's just end to end. The first two goals that Bournemouth scored in off the post, absolutely fantastic pinpoint shots. So the goalkeeper they had no chance of getting.
And incredibly, going back to the Champions League, we're actually really well placed to potentially finish in top 8. Well, if we can get the results, because we're playing Frankfurt and Dortmund. So make of that what you will, but we could well finish top 8 and end up with a more, on paper maybe, a more favourable draw. But as we know from last season's Champions League, it doesn't always play out like that. Liverpool met PSG, they won the league and they were out. So, it does create a bit more jeopardy. But incredibly, our form, if you look at our form and forget about how we performed in certain games, it's not that bad. So,
look, I think, we jumped from 16th to 11th. We're 1 point behind Dortmund, who were playing at home.
Yep.
And then we got Frankfurt, who were sort of like the low riders. So you got to say, if we could take 4 points, let's say, out of those two games, then there's a really good chance we'll end up in the top 8. My personal opinion is that I think Dortmund might do us. And I know we haven't been beaten at home in Europe for donkeys, but they're the ones who are most likely to take a point off us or maybe nick a win even. But the top 8 would be something quite sensational in my view.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, it would be a real achievement, I think. None of us really felt that we were going to do that much in the
just because of my
season.
Ignorance to it, and I'm trying to get my arms around still this new format. If we finish top 8, we avoid a fixture, right? Essentially, okay.
Yes,
2
fixtures. There's a home and away leg,
right? Okay,
I think in playoffs, right?
Yeah, okay. So you avoid that, and then you bump yourself into the knockout. Okay,
straight into the knockout phase.
Makes sense.
So it's last 16, isn't it? Then I think.
Yeah, it must be.
So there'll be 16 teams. Will play 8.
Yeah.
8 two-legged. What do you call it? Matches.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Well, look, we've got to do it, but moving on, the horror show that was Forest, I just have very little. It was...
I'm finding it really hard to talk about matches with. I could literally replay virtually anything I've said about. I can think of 4 matches off the top of my head where I could just replay what I said in those matches, and it was the same. Like, totally gutless. I did nothing in the first half.
I do wonder, right? So I don't know how soon the coverage on UK TV comes on for a match. We get it 10 minutes. So we get Sky Sports Now here, and we get 10 minutes before the game. If there's like 10 games or 8 games playing, same everywhere. But the noise from the crowd at the City Stadium, right, was fantastic. You know, the singing, the alignment of what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And they obviously quite like Sean Dyche because he's one of their own.
I said to a mate here, Richard, and sorry to speak over you because I'll forget it otherwise, but I think there's something to be said for a club to be managed. It's Sean Dyche, Ian Wone and Steve Stone. And they all played for Forest. There's something to be said for that, I think.
Very much so. I thought just before the game kicked off, all the singing, the noise, which was very evident coming through the speakers, meant that was quite a hostile environment for us to be playing in. I just wonder if we weren't up for it as well.
I wouldn't disagree with you. We didn't look up for it. We looked off the pace again. I don't, for me, make it make sense, right? It was Hamish and I in the chat that we're in. He had the school of thought, we don't have a deep enough squad. I don't subscribe to that. We've seen Tell score against United, looks bright. Where is he? Doesn't play again. Gets a few minutes. Dane Scarlett, Copenhagen, wins a penalty. Looks good. Never to be seen again. I was having a conversation with somebody here, a mate of mine. Is Frank a manager where he's so driven by these data points and he almost overcomplicates it that these players aren't getting minutes? It's just bizarre to me. I don't know the system we play. I don't know what he's trying to do. Can somebody tell me who we're building the team around? And then his substitutions are 2-0 down. Ben Davies, what?
Yeah, that was absolutely. And actually, Spence had been one of the best players on the pitch.
I was like,
if anything, I would have took Porro off because he didn't have a good game at all, and then switched it. I'd have had Spence the other side. If you really wanted to do that,
people are talking about the lack of the left-hand side, which I agree with. Then play wing-backs. Use Danso in a free and play your wing-backs in. But he won't do that either. Honestly, I was so angry after watching that Forest game. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get any of it.
What gets me think is to go back to the point about Kudus and our front. We've got everything has to build from the back because we've got no outlet, not a good outlet that's going to get the ball played in the way that Ange did, like I said earlier, in those first 10 games where you're going, you know exactly where you're going to, right? So you've got an outlet in Kudus, which is fine because he can hold up the ball, but he's got no one to pass to, right? The midfield go AWOL because the midfield are just in front of the back four. Right. And if you have a look at the first goal, which, we should probably get on to, Vicario, and I talked about the top 2 inches before. I'm sorry, but if you've got a man up your arse and you don't shout man on, you don't pass the ball to him. Right. Yeah. The second thing you do, if you're scared of heights, you don't walk along a cliff edge, so you don't pass it to him, right? You just don't do those things. And Gray was to blame for taking the first touch. But when you're running towards your own goal and you don't know which side the opposition is going to attack you from, maybe they're coming from both sides, you've got no hope in hell's chance of actually doing anything positive. So, why does the goalkeeper pass? For my money, that 6-yard box all the way, the width of the 6-yard box all the way to the 18-yard box. No keeper should pass to a player facing his own goal in that square, right?
And he was under pressure. I felt really bad for Gray because I don't think that he could have done much with it. It was a bit of a hospital pass.
Yeah. He didn't get a call. He didn't get a call for man on. He didn't get a call to hoof it back over the goal, for example.
Yeah. Stick it anywhere. Stick it out of touch anywhere. It's anything rather than what happened.
And I'm always cautious about saying this because we're all sat on our couches watching it. But I played the game not to any particular good level, but played five-a-side. And there's just things you don't do. And that reminded me of when I was playing a five-a-side game not that long ago. And somebody played a square ball to me and it didn't go down the line, came across, and it was intercepted and they scored. And I went, never do that to me again. I don't want it there.
Yeah. And I think The other thing is that we've got, I don't know what they call it. There's some term for it, but that area around the D, we've conceded an abnormally large number of goals from just outside the box.
Pretty much every game.
It's like kind of second phase stuff. Like,
the other
partially cleared and then it's come back in. Or
the other thing, to go back to your point, Glenn, and the area that you're talking about. No, Gray is a right-footed player, and Vicario is a left-footed player. So the left-footed player plays the ball to a right-footed player on his left foot. That's why Gray had to take the second touch or the first touch to steady everything, which meant that he was turning into a player, right, which was absolutely bonkers because the opposition player knew he could go either left or go right. He actually had Hudson-Odoi by the right of him, so he could do anything he wanted to put him under pressure. All of our play in the midfield, and Frank says this in one of the interviews, 25 times a simple pass to one of our players either went over the player's head, to the left of him, to the right of him. Everybody should know which foot is the stronger for the player that he's...
There's not that many players from a pass to. They've got to learn, is there? It's not like...
No. Yeah. So, you know Matthew Letizia, right, at Hampton, he was a right-footed player. You always played on his right foot, and he'll do the left and the right foot once he's got the ball.
Mm.
But you don't play it to his left foot because his left foot wasn't the strongest.
Yeah.
Right? Judas, like I said earlier, he's a left-footed player. He's always got to come back on his left foot. I'll tell you that Lo Celso and, what's the name, did the Rabona
Lamela
against Arsenal.
Lamela.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lamela, they were so left-footed, no one would have passed to their right foot.
Yeah.
So you should know that. Like you say, you've only got 10 players that you can pass to.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
No. That's what's missing in training. There seems to be a complete lack of understanding. There's no cohesion between them. For me, I just don't feel like when you see them, they look like a well-drilled team. I just don't see it.
All these passes and layoffs are bollocks.
There was a period in the game, and I can't remember whether it was a head injury or there was a period in the game where for some reason Frank had them over to the sideline. I can't remember why it was.
I remember the one you mean, yeah.
And they didn't look...
One of the Forest players was down for a while.
They didn't look engaged. They didn't look like they were really listening to what he had to say. The body language was all off. They didn't look like they were about to go and run through a brick wall for him. And then there was also, and you read into what you will of a photograph, but there's also a photograph of Spence when he's come off and he's looking.
So now he's done it again, hasn't he? Yeah.
Two things. Do you think Frank is over-reliant on data points and the data? Is he a bit of a nerd? And then do you think he's lost the dressing room?
I think he's a totally different character to Ange. And some of that comes out in the Mickey van der Ven interview that he did with Gary Neville, which we'll talk about. Totally different character. I think you're right. I think he's driven by data. But, the other thing about being driven by data is you can also make your own data point, right? You don't have to rely on, here's 10 points. Don't use this one because we're not very good at this one.
Yeah.
Only use these two.
Yeah.
Okay. Make your own data point.
Yeah.
Because if you've got players that are can do something better than any of these four options, play to that strength.
Yeah.
But we never seem to do that, right? We just don't seem to do that. I don't think he's lost the dressing room just yet. I think the players are the main issue because they're bang average, right? And here's the thing. Throughout the life cycle of some of the managers that we've had, we've also had the same players. I can't believe that Ben Davies, lovely chap though he may be, is still in the club.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that's gone, you're quite right in what you say, all the managers are the same players, but we had Son and Kane, and they were the outliers.
They wallpapered over a lot of cracks the last 6 years, didn't they?
Yeah.
I feel for Kane and Son in respect of if they had characters who were a bit stronger and a bit better and did their job properly, Tottenham could have been a Man City, But we didn't. We had bang average players behind them. So the frustration that they must have felt for not having players as equally as good in their positions as they were in theirs must have been terrible. And I've got no problems with Kane moving on or Son for that matter. And Son left on a high, which is great. But, if you have a look at the midfield, the Nottingham Forest midfield of Gibbs White, Anderson and Sengara, right, ran at us, right? They ran at us, they pressured us, their passing was swift, they knew exactly where the ball was going to go, and what's his name, Sangara up front was a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And they were far better than our midfield.
They wanted it,
Far
didn't they? Yeah.
I mean, as well, they also picked up players like Hudson-Odoi, who was basically just a reject at Chelsea. They weren't interested in him.
Yeah.
They just discarded him, and he's been excellent for them.
Yeah. He's been very good for them.
And I just feel like that.
They've also got
Even
two really good centre-backs, I think. I really rate their centre-halves.
Murillo.
Yeah, good player.
Yeah.
Very good
Yeah,
player.
I think the one thing they don't have, though, is pace.
Yeah.
They're centre-backs. And we never took any advantage of that because our build-up play was too slow. We played exactly into their hands, really. We never really stretched them. We never really gave them anything to worry about.
Well, going back to
fullbacks.
what we were talking off air, we don't have a Dom Solanke, so we don't have a target man, and Richarlison's touch is worse than a barn door in a gale, it goes all over the place. I would stick Kolo Muani in the number 9 position and just use him as a target man because he knows how to hold the ball. He knows how to lay off the ball. I haven't seen enough of him, but actually gives us an option of playing the ball into somebody. Go back to the Kudus scenario where Kudus gets the ball, he's got no one to lay it off to. And Xavi was trying, but he's still a bit light on his feet and all these sorts of things. And the thing is, you get 2 players, maybe even 3 players who are having an off day. We look terrible.
Yeah. And I think, one of the fundamental issues I have with Frank at the moment, and this is why I don't subscribe to when people say, we're missing Solanke, we're missing Maddison, we're missing Kulusevski. If they were fit, he just tinkers, he changes it so much. Giving him more isn't going to...
I'm not sure we'd see an uplift, really.
No, I don't think so either. That's my concern with
because it would just be more. It'd be more players cycled through.
Yeah,
the changes be same changes every week to try and counter some other team's way they play. I think that's the thing that I'm most disappointed in this season is that all of the talk about him making average players better. I see no sign of that at all. My only thing I can think of is in his defence is that there's not enough time between matches at the moment when he's playing two or maybe even 3 times a week, which we have been. There's not enough time to really drill the players, and he's changing it so frequently. It's a bit of a combination. If Brentford, if you're playing once a week, you've got maybe 5 days of coaching on the grass to get these points across to them, and the same 11 players will probably play more frequently together because of that as well. So he's kind of maybe he learned something from last season and the season before with Ange through all the injuries, and that he's trying to avoid burning out the players that we do have by doing rotation. So we can't knock him for rotating players, but I don't ever feel like it's not just for that reason. He's rotating players for different tactical reasons and formations, and sometimes I think it's too much. So I don't know. I'm struggling a bit to find out what the direction is, and we don't really seem to have an identity as a team. I don't know what we are still.
Look, to link those together, Glen's view is, I think, we don't know what style of football we're playing.
Yep.
And you're saying something similar based on some mitigating circumstances. With Ange, the first 12 games last year, we knew exactly what we were, and Tottenham fans were happy with that, right? But opposition managers sussed us quite quickly, and what Ange didn't do is have a plan B.
Yeah.
Now, what Frank perhaps needs to do is very quickly in the next 2 or 3 games show exactly the style of football he wants us to play. And I don't subscribe to this tiredness bollocks, because if you got your best 11, you play your best 11, right? Now, last week he gave the players 2 days off, and look what happened against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
If you play football cleverly and you pick your best side gets into a groove. Liverpool back in the 80s and 90s when they were winning everything, they managed their team. And I know you only had 2 substitutes at the time, right?
Yeah.
I suppose the thing about picking your best side helps you design what the style of play is you're going to have. So whether you use data points to design the style of play or whether you just isolate players who can do X or Y and you pick them and that's your 11, you should stick with them for 2 or 3 games, right? Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, Liverpool, who were winning everything, didn't change their team every week.
Yeah.
You knew exactly who the players were going to be, who were going to turn up, right? And they played 2 or 3 times. I can remember Liverpool being very successful, playing 60 games a season, and half of their side would have played the majority of those games, if not all of them.
Well, I think
so. I would like to see whether he's using data points, whether he fancies a player or he doesn't fancy a player. I'd just like to see the same side come together and play 3, maybe 4 successive games and have a style that they're playing.
Something that you can say is ours. Yeah. Yeah. And I had a bit of a fundamental problem, and maybe this is unfounded, but when Frank has come out after the Nottingham Forest defeat and said, this is not a quick fix, we can't keep changing it. And I think, well, hang about.
You do keep changing it.
You do keep changing it. And second to that point is, what you saying? What isn't a quick fix? Because we won the Europa League last season.
I think he meant you can't keep changing the manager.
Sure, but then on that basis, we should never.
You can.
Yeah, well, you can, and they probably will. But on that basis, for me, maybe I'm in the minority here. I feel our league position was very much manufactured. And what I mean by that is, and we get onto the interview in a minute, Richard, in terms of under Ben's comments, but Ange manufactured 17th place. We were never going down. We were never in a relegation battle. He put all of his proverbial eggs in that basket. He said, that's the competition. We know he did that because the players have told us he did, and he's told us we did. So for Frank to come out and say, well, it's not a quick fix. Well, what isn't? You've got Champions League football. You've just won a major trophy. We had 500,000 people on the streets of Tottenham celebrating that. What a wonderful jumping off point. And it's almost this unsaid thing. You can't say Voldemort. Did the club make a mistake in getting rid of Ange? I'll put it out there. What's your view, Richard? Do you think they did? Well, would it have been as bad if we kept him to this point?
I have said several times to several people, including you guys, that the 3 up and coming apostles, which were Glasner, Iriola, and none of them have managed a big side, right? And to their credit, they've done well for a season or 2 in the Premiership, but they've never really won anything. They've never been European champions. They've never won a top 5 league wherever they've been. And it's just that the style of play and the supporters and the management of the sides that the clubs they've been in like them, right? And the thing is with Frank, he's a very likeable chap. And so he will rely on data points to justify his position. I don't know that he's a big enough character to take on a big club like Tottenham. And I think he's finding that all the jobs that there are to do to bring Tottenham up to a top 4 club level is possibly too much for him. And he hasn't got enough armoury in his bag to whip out the answer for this problem and whip out the answer with this problem, because the fundamental resource, his playing staff, aren't good enough. Right. So effectively,
and he doesn't have the European experience either. I think that so much the European experience itself. It's the additional load of putting out a team every week, as well as trying to maintain 2 domestic trophies and a league as well. Don't think it's his first season doing that, and I guess that's the issue here, right? He's inexperienced.
He looks haggard
at this level. Yeah, he looks really like he's aged.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of months,
he's got wrinkles everywhere. It's like having a project manager, right? We've all known them. Project manager who's out of his depth, and you think, is he going to get through this? And with the will of everyone around him, he may have the support to get him through, but, and they'll learn from it. But can you carry that person? The other thing which is quite interesting is Spurs are only 1 point shy of where they were this time last year in the Premiership.
But we've also conceded more goals than we did under Ange.
Yeah. Correct. And the other thing, of course, is that we know that Ange won us a trophy, and there's nothing there to suggest that we're going to win either the Champions League or the FA Cup with Thomas Frank.
We'll be lucky if we get through the 3rd round.
The interesting thing is, I maybe speak for myself, but I know that this was maybe the rhetoric from a lot of Spurs fans. We all almost jokingly said, oh shit, we'd take a Europa League in 17th. Well, it happened because we finally got the monkey off our back, right? So, I don't know. It's easy with hindsight 2020, but maybe
I guess that
give him 10 games.
The big question,
what have happened?
The question I think I have is, I think the club is about to invest heavily in the playing staff. The
Who do you
question
give that money
I
to?
think this is the question, right? This is my I think the question we need to answer is, do we want to give Frank the money for 2 or 3 good players in January, or do we want to give it to someone else? Do we trust him to spend the money and use the money wisely?
And it's been widely reported on the 100 million cash injection, and that was kind of almost poo-pooed and said, well, that's not enough money. But what a lot of fans that poo-pooed that are forgetting is that's in addition to what we already had to spend. Like, from a financial fair
and that's
play,
not.
We've got to,
and we would never spend it all in one year anyway.
Correct.
It would be instalments anyway,
But
right? So it'll probably be equivalent of about 300 million spent.
On transfer fees in January, if we want to, and from a financial fair play position, we can go and drop 350 million on signings. We can, right? It excites me to think that we might go and do that. But to your point, Graeme and Richard, I get your take. Do you entrust Frank to go and spend that money? Like, is that?
Well, the other thing is, if you have a look at the players that he's brought through at Brentford, Wormo, Visser, Norgard, Dansgaard, we should have bought when we had the opportunity. He alone hasn't made them into the players that they are, right? It's a number of factors. There's no guarantee he can do it a second time. There's no guarantee he can do it a second time at a bigger club where there are more things to play for, like the Champions League, bigger stakes, if you will. Out of fairness, we need to give him at least 1, maybe 2 transfer windows. So I think let's delay the answer to that question until the end of January and see if he has brought in anybody. And I'm not terribly sure it'll be him who will be bringing them in, to be honest with you.
But,
you know, it's like, do you object, yes or no? And if it's no, then we'll get the player.
When doesn't he get that time, though? So let's say we lose to Liverpool at home, which is a big possibility, and then we lose away to Palace. Does he still get that time for you?
I don't think the club will sack him the other side of this first transfer window of the season. I think if he goes, he'll go at the end of the season, which, when you think about it, is when all the coaches from the World Cup free.
Summer, yeah.
There's one particular one that was out to dinner with Steve Perriman, Ozzy Ardiles, and a few other Spurs legends, and that's Pochettino. He seems to love the club.
Who still has his house in Cuffley.
Yeah. And it still baffles me that he went and managed Chelsea for his love for us. It's bizarre to me that he went and did that, but there we go. That's another conversation.
Thought I'd throw that little segue in there.
Yeah, indeed. I think for me, it was funny. I was messaging with a mate the other day, and it's almost like Pochettino has to come back just to stop it being talked about and see what happens. Like, one day I think it will happen.
Well, back to the point about whether Thomas Frank is a big enough character to take on a big club like Tottenham. Pochettino probably is, because he went from our big club, which was bigger than Southampton, to an even bigger club in PSG. And all right, he wasn't a major success, but he won the championship in one of the local cups or whatever. And that was enough to keep his kudos going and put him in the frame for an even bigger appointment, which was the USA. So you got to say, if he was approached to come to Tottenham, it would be okay because he knows how to do this. Do you know what I mean? He's probably the only manager since Birkinshaw who knows how to do this.
Yeah.
And I think that he did the job he did with us was not based on money spent either. It was he got more out of the existing players. And actually, if anything, he culled a lot of the squad in the first 2 seasons he was there. People that didn't want to buy into his philosophy were gone very quickly, right? And then we ended up with a lot of younger players coming and playing. So it wasn't, and then eventually he knew he needed more players. And the other thing about the way he plays is that he burns through players a lot. Like they do double everything. He plays his best 11 all the time until they're broken.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I get that worked, but
you have a look at
the depth was lacking. I think that wasn't his fault though.
No. You have a look at the quarterfinal against Man City. You have a look at the Ajax games. Right, they give you a real lump in the throat because you were all part of that. Because you could see what the club was trying to do, what the players on the pitch were trying to do, and what Pochettino was trying to achieve. You've got none of that at the moment under Thomas Frank, and I just think that Thomas Frank needs another few months just to see if he can actually get a tune out the current players, plus 1 or 2 in the transfer window. And if he can't, I don't think the Lewis family will carry him beyond the end of this season. I really don't.
I think you're right about. I don't think a permanent manager change is likely until the summer, if it happens. But then it means either we just stick with him until the summer, whatever happens. As long as we're not going to get relegated, we'll stick with him. Or we bring in a caretaker, someone temporary.
That's what I can see happening.
Which has also been talked about.
If the performances don't improve and it's as toxic as ever in the stadium, eventually it becomes a point of, it's so toxic, he has to go, right? And he goes. Yeah. To your point, Graeme, an interim comes in. And this sounds mental to say it, but I could see something like a Redknapp coming in for 6 months, doing what Martin O'Neill did at Celtic and just coming in for a jolly, essentially, getting us playing slightly better football. An interim, it's something for him to do, and then maybe the reappointment of Pop, the name comes in.
I think that we've already talked about this at the Steve Stone, Ian Wone, and I think they'll go to Robbie Keane.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. Not a bad shout at all. And just so I'm clear, is his backroom staff in Hungary, is it also ex-Spurs, or does he? Do you know who that is? Who he
No,
coaches?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, it's gaining some visibility and some noise because Ferencváros won their league.
Beat Rangers, didn't they?
And they beat Rangers.
Yeah.
You know, for the rest of their season, they might be utterly and totally crap. But the fact that he's got his badges, he's managing over there, he's doing it the hard way under a kind of mask, I think would curry a good deal of favour with the Spurs faithful in the stadium. And I think it would be something, if there was a call for a caretaker, it would be someone like him above a Redknapp. I think Redknapp's had his day, I'm afraid.
Ages against Redknapp, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
The only thing I'll say about Ferencváros is they are by far the best team in Hungary.
Yeah.
So like it's probably worse than the Scottish League in that just to give you an idea that the Orban's team, and like so the new stadium they have was built instead of a hospital in Budapest. So like they've always had money because it's his team. So I don't think winning the league over there is really a stretch, but I'm not suggesting that he's not doing a good job. I'm just saying that it's not something that would make me think that he's necessarily destined for the top. He's still got a lot to prove.
Well, and he was at Maccabi Tel Aviv before that, and they're quite a good side as well, right? In contrast to the other teams in.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 teams in that league that are decent.
Yeah. The only thing I would say counter to that, Graeme, and I don't disagree with you at all, is the fact that when we got Ange, what he put forward was his ability to win with Melbourne City and Celtic.
Similar
backgrounds,
true.
You know.
Yeah, I guess say similar reasons then. In that, I feel like when you have a dominant team, you can play one way and make everyone else react to the way you play. But in the Premier League, there aren't any bad teams. So like you can get turned over by any team in the Premier League. There's a lot. The coaching quality is high. The quality of the players generally is high. Even in the lower league teams, they earn more money than the top 3 teams in Portugal do. You know, they have.
I think we underestimate
resources.
That's a really valid point. I think we really underestimate the fact that mediocre club sides from the 70s, 80s, 90s and noughties that are in the Premiership now have actually become decent footballing sides, right? And I think it's slightly unfair for us to believe that we can't get beaten by a Burnley or a Wolves. Well, maybe
Bournemouth.
Not for Bournemouth. Yeah, Bournemouth. I mean, go back to that game. I watched Bournemouth Man United.
Yeah, I saw the highlights, yeah.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, Bournemouth were fantastic. And United were good. They came out of the traps, all guns firing. And Bournemouth just played the ball around like, you know, everybody knew exactly what their role was. They knew where they were position-wise. All right, they let in 4 goals. But, you know, at the end of the day, their players just never stopped. It was brilliant to watch.
But Bournemouth, like Brighton, like Brentford, and I've said this so many times, I believe will continue to be competitive because of how they are run as a football club. I don't honestly believe it matters.
It's a system. It's like a factory, right? It's not just the manager is a component, but it's not all on the manager. Brentford's a great example, right? They've not doing brilliantly, but they're not in trouble. And they lost what, 3 of their best players and all of their coaching staff.
People say
aside from Keith Andrews,
going to go down because they lost their players. They just redo it again. They just start again, and they do well. They will,
and it seems like everything of their scouting networks and the way that they build a succession planning into not just players, but into the coaching and management staff as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always feel when someone leaves Tottenham, there's like a mad panic to try and replace them. It's like we hadn't thought about that someone might consider leaving. Like, obviously, the other thing that came up since we last recorded is Matt Wells looks like he's going to go and manage the Rapids.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, which I have a personal connection with in that my old house that's now an investment property is probably a 25-minute walk from the Rapid Stadium. So maybe he could be my new tenant.
And I've been there 2 or 3 times as well.
Yeah. So now I saw that, and do you know what? That actually has a wider impact than people think, because who was his grandfather? He has a deep personal connection.
Is it John White?
Yeah, he has a deep personal connection.
I think
to
it's
the club,
John White,
doesn't he?
Is it John White?
Was it John White that passed, wasn't it, that got hit by the
lightning?
When he was on the golf course with the lightning strike. I'm going to need to check.
I'm not sure if it is him. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I need to check.
He's
There's definitely a connection to Matty Wells and Tottenham. Like, he's a fan. He used to go,
and he's the last remaining continuity from the last coaching team,
correct,
right, as well.
Correct.
Everyone else is gone. So he's the only one that remains from
the one that doesn't get talked about much in terms of a possible Tottenham manager for the future is Chris Davis, who's at Birmingham, who was the assistant with Ange, and he's doing good things at Birmingham. Like, I don't know if you've watched it, either of you, but there's an Amazon show about, I think it's called Up the Blues or something. Anyway, it's really quite interesting because it's Tom Brady, of course, and it's quite interesting insight to when they got rid of Rooney and then how they brought Chris Davis in and the direction they took. He's a really intelligent guy, and he's a very good coach. So that doesn't get talked about as much as maybe a possible.
Funny you should mention like that new money coming into like lower league football. I was speaking to George, my nephew, last week, and he's at university in Swansea, and you know that there's a consortium that bought Swansea, includes Luka Modric.
Yeah.
Modric has bought a house in the area, so. It's quite interesting.
Yeah,
but that was a bit of a shock for him after. From where he has been playing.
Yeah, no, indeed,
and living,
indeed. Well, I shared off air with you guys that I've got something hot off the press. So, as we all know, and I've mentioned this a few times on the show, Ange Postecoglou is from not far from where I live in Melbourne, and I got a message. I'm in a group, but one of my mates, Elliot, messaged last night. I've just bumped into Ange at the Chadstone Hotel, which is about 20 minutes that way. And he said, to be fair, he was super polite and came across really well. He was with his family, so I didn't take too much of his time up other than to say, you gave me one of the best nights of my life. I might see him at breakfast. I don't know whether to completely fanboy out and go up there and live in hope that I get to meet the guy, because I'd love to shake his hand and thank him for what he did and that he gave us a trophy. So I'm keeping my eyes peeled. I'm assuming he's down here for a few weeks over Christmas. He might be at the Test as well. He was at the Ashes at Lords. He likes his cricket.
Yeah, he loves the cricket.
Yeah, so quite funny that he would be here. So clearly not coming back to Spurs anytime soon, because he's back in Melbourne. So any talk of a glorious return is not happening.
My daughter's just moved to Yarraville.
Oh, yeah.
A week or so ago. And I keep saying to her, keep your eyes out for Ange, because she's a big Greek food eater. She loves Greek food. And I said, every time you pop into a Greek restaurant, just have a quick skirt around and see who's there.
It doesn't surprise me to hear that he was super polite and came across really well, because apparently he's a very nice guy. Because he was on a holiday, wasn't he, after the season ended? Some Spurs fans sent him a bottle of wine to his room, and then he got a shirt signed and gave him. Like, he seemed like a genuinely top bloke. But yeah, so thinking ahead, we've got the Liverpool game on the horizon. I mean, much like us, I don't know what we're going to get from them. Like,
I think them bad is still better than us.
I wouldn't
currently, unfortunately.
Ekitike, he already gave us a hard time, didn't he? When he played for
I think they still look like they can score goals.
Yeah,
they look leaky at the back, but then I'm not sure that we're able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you.
I don't hold out a lot of hope for this one.
Well, I don't either, I'm afraid. Is it Konso plays at the back of them? Or Kanate, whichever, sorry.
Kanate, Van Dijk, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's the weakest link, as you will. But, Van Dijk is a nasty bastard, right? So he always leaves a stud in or an elbow or punch in the ribs or punch in the face, but you don't get to see it, blah, blah, blah. And that covers up for when he's not playing well. I think Konate, if you get at Konate, I think you can run at him and get around it, but we've got no runners at the moment.
Yeah, who's running? Yeah. I mean,
So I fear for what could happen. Having said that, right, having said all of that, I just hope that somewhere in the well of hope, right, that we find the form that beat Man City. I know that was away, but we beat Man City and we played well against the Paris Saint-Germain twice. If we find some kind of form that we can pull out for Sunday's game against Liverpool, we might just scrape a draw. But I think we're going to get our asses handed back on a plate.
I'm worried it could be proper North London panto with a lot of booing, and it could get really nasty in the stadium. Seriously.
But interestingly,
be like, it's behind you.
Yeah. Interestingly, it's almost a year to the day since we played them in that fixture and we got pumped 6-3. And we were never in that game. Like, it was a mental game, but we got out.
I think 6-3 flattered us.
Yeah. So, but like you said, and there's talk of people saying, oh, well, we'll never have a better chance because there's no Mo Salah. And I'm like, he's been abysmal.
Yeah, no, it's not really the... Yeah.
I have fears. I actually worry more about the Palace game. I think Palace could really give us a working over. I think there's a chance against Liverpool to sort ourselves out because their form is so patchy. Palace, I think, and we'll cover that in another episode, but they look good, whereas Liverpool look patchy at best. But like you said, have we got enough to take advantage of a leaky defence? I don't know that we do. I really don't.
We will need our better players to play really well, which is, I think, my point. We need Van der Ven to come out of his slumber, right? And hopefully this week's...
Do we know how long Adogie's out for now? That seems
January, sometime in January.
We've got no access to Sarr now. He's with Senegal.
Yeah, he's out until the end of the African, wherever far he gets in there from Cup of Nations.
Take what it's worth. No Basuma, he's also gone, but not that really matters. He hasn't been playing. No. We're paying kudos because Ghana amazingly didn't qualify.
Yeah, I think just that the big players have got to stand up and got to lead. And as I said, that's something that came across in this Van der Ven documentary about leaders, and very much put Kuti and Van der Ven in the same box as being the leaders, that they've got to lead from the back. Whenever there's a change, whenever there's a tactic, you're the ones to make it happen and make sure the players do what you tell them to do. And I think when you play a big side, when you're not in good form like we're not, when you play a Liverpool or a Man City or an Arsenal, you got to come out fighting. That's what I want to see. If we come out fighting and lose, I don't care.
If
we come fighting and go down like a damp squib, then I'm going to get worried. And rightly so, I think.
Absolutely. You just touched on it, Richard. I've only seen the snippet where I actually thought it said quite a bit for Ange in many regards, that he seemed to empower his players to say, well, you go and do that then. But the interview with Van der Ven from Gary Neville, there was that comment, I've only seen that part of it, where they talk about the Frankfurt game and how to change the system. That's on YouTube then. And he was yelling and screaming at the players. But you saw the whole interview, Richard. Your view is maybe putting himself in the shop window a tad.
Yeah, Gary Neville just talked him up the whole interview. I don't mind Gary Neville, not as much as I hate Carragher, for that matter. But as an interview, it wasn't that bad. And Van der Ven had his father to one side, and they talked about how he was picked up and how he went through the second division structure in Holland to Wolfsburg to Tottenham. But the whole interview just kind of smacked of an undercurrent of where you're going to next. You're big enough. You're so good. You're the best player at Tottenham. You've got this wonderful pair of legs, and if you can stay fit, you could do wonderful things. But necessarily at Tottenham,
sounds like he wants to take him out to dinner.
Yeah. But, and of course, Van der Ven is only 23, 24, and he's going, yeah, that's right. And he actually came across quite well. He spoke quite well, and he did not give any preference to Ange over Thomas Frank. He said, look, they're different. I'm really enjoying not being exposed by the style that Thomas Frank wants us to play. We just can't get our act together. He talked about the Frankfurt game, like you just said, and the fact that Kuti and he went to talk to Ange about making a change, and was open to listening and said, okay, well, on the pitch, if you want to do this, you're in charge, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make this happen. And also something you said earlier, I think, Glenn, was do with our Europa Cup win. As soon as they realised that they weren't going to get relegated last year, they put all their eggs in the back, the players and Ange, to the Europa games. Funny enough, I saw an interview with on TalkSport with who is the ex-Liverpool player, played for us in Fulham,
Danny Murphy.
Danny Murphy.
Yeah, I quite like Murphy. He's a bit dour, but he's okay. He turned around and said, look, don't take any bullshit from any of these Spurs players about the fact that they only focused on the Europa Cup. They were awful in the last 5 to 6 games at the end of last season in the Premier League, and that tells you something. So, you know, I kind of heard what he said, because, as we all know, our performance against Man United was only what it was because Man United was so shite.
Look, I think
I think the problem as well, when you stop caring about the league, even when you want to turn it back on, it's kind of habit forming, right? Because we went about 3 or 4 months where we couldn't buy a win. We were awful, absolutely abject, and so by the end of the season, that last game, like, I know they were probably a bit hungover, but I just didn't think that we'd ever be able to find anything to get a win out of the last game, and it feels like this season we've not really found that consistent. I don't think we've had 2 games in a row where we've been consistently shown the same levels and, you know, generated chances and looked tidy at the back. There seems to have been something in every game where even the ones we've won, I would say that there's not a game where we've been 100% dominant. And
I think a point Richard just made, and I think it's a fair one. Man United weren't great, but one thing that struck me in that final and in that run in the Europa League was there was a desire there, which I don't think can be made up. Like, I think that was driven by Ange's man management. And what I mean by desire is there were times in that final where we really had to dig in, and we did.
like Van der Ven's goal line clearance and stuff like that, you know.
The saves by Vicario. I mean, we dug in. I thought Basuma had his best game in a Spurs shirt. I thought Richarlison had a really good game, and it wasn't because he done anything particularly outstanding attacking wise. He just worked really fucking hard. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. The Man United weren't great, but there was an element of we dug in, and I'm just not seeing enough of that under Frank, and that's a concern.
It was an Italian performance, because when we were young, all of us, we would have seen Juventus, Inter Milan or Roma play absolutely awful football.
They would smother teams.
1-0 winners.
Yeah.
Hey, Italy did it to England in the Euro final.
Yeah.
You know, when Saka was through, and I think it was it Chiellini that like basically manhandled him took the yellow card, because you win at all costs. You just do it.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think we dug in, and we shouldn't underplay the fact that we won the game and we did everything we needed to do. So it was a consummate performance to win a game without any real superstars, because Son really wasn't on form.
Yeah, he came on.
He was there in a ceremonial role, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he came on to lift the trophy, basically.
Indeed, fully deserving as well of that. To add,
I forgot to mention that
of course,
he was there against Slavia Prague.
I think that was maybe to push a few extra tickets out.
And they still only had 47,000.
Well, my immediate question when I saw he was coming back, I was like, is he available to play on the left?
Yeah. Could have done a lot worse.
In all seriousness, it was nice to see him get a send off, and it was nice to see him be recognised.
There's also on Spurs now. There's an interview, like a kind of documentary about him as well.
Yeah,
which I think might be worth a watch.
No, indeed.
Look, the marketing machine at Tottenham is amazing, right? But boy, do they churn out so much material that is absolute BS. You know, I like the fact that you've got so much to choose from, but I don't like the fact that so much of it is pretty poor. Right? It's all sugar-coated rubbish. So.
A player we haven't talked about, I want to touch on it before we close out, is I really actually started to feel a bit sorry for Brennan Johnson. He didn't do a great deal last season on its face, but he came out our top scorer. I think he is quite a clinical player in that he seems to be right place, right time, and he can finish. I don't know why he's not getting a look in, like in terms of
because he doesn't fit the style of play.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like adapt to fit him in the team.
Not that we know what that style of play is. Yeah. We just know that he's not
He's not it. I think it, and there's talk of him being sold, which I think would be a real shame. I think his personality seems good. I like the character of the guy. I'd be quite sad if we sold him, but it seems that we might do. Is the noise.
I just think he's a bit one-dimensional for what we need.
But he puts the ball.
I think if you look at that side of the pitch, the other person they're talking, is getting some media time now is Pedro Porro back to Man City. And to be honest with you, if Porro went, I wouldn't lose any sleep.
No, me neither.
He's been a servant. He's done okay, but he's not sensational. And go back to the Brennan Johnson thing. I would have. On Saturday or Sunday rather, against Nottingham Forest, it would have been an ideal opportunity for him to get one over on his old club. And the fact that he only came on for the last 8 or 9 minutes, I think, was not good.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think he will go in the January window. For me, unfortunately, I'll be quite sad to see him go, but there you go.
Well, the other rumour that I heard, and tell me if you've heard similar, was that they were talking about Brennan Johnson as part exchange for Semenyo down in Bournemouth.
May make sense.
Interesting. I still don't think we get Semenyo. The other story that's been doing around this week is we're apparently, I can't remember the guy's name, so that's not a great start to the discussion, but we're after some footballing director from Man City.
Yes.
So I guess he's a kind of a Munn replacement.
Yeah.
But I just feel like we're collecting footballing executives more than we are players at the moment. We could probably put out our executive 11. That would be quite an interesting one, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I saw the same.
We've got a double pivot of Langer and Paratici.
Yeah. Indeed.
So I think I can see that the Paratici transfer rooms are starting out for January. So that'll be interesting. I think what I'm expecting in January is a weird dichotomy, a kind of... The problem is that Langer and Paratici do their business in almost like binary difference. One, he's talking to 10 people and all the 10 people, but you never know which one he's going to close at the end. And Langer's much more closed about, you don't know who he's talking to until the deal's done. It's much later in the process. So I'm expecting a bit of both. So the transfer news cycle is going to be absolutely mental, I think. January's going to be a wild one, I think. I hope that there's a lot of business done because I still think that there's some big gaps in the squad. And I'm also still really looking forward to seeing players come back that have been out long term. So Dragusin apparently is back on grass. So there's another. He's played 45 minutes, I think, for the under 21s. So and we got Tokai, the Japanese kid.
Yeah, we haven't seen him
apparently. He's played for 45 minutes as well. And then Kulusevski, I mean, what a boost that would be. We could really do with that. I think it would give us something a bit different. He's another one of those guys who pick the game up by the scruff of the neck and drive the ball forward, isn't he? So I remember some of the Conte matches where he would just literally drive the ball up the pitch. And
Will us over the line, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that Bergvall would benefit from him being back as well. I think they've got quite a
good understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I think a good off the pitch relationship as well. I think really would be good to see him back. And then of course Solanke. I mean, still don't know if Solanke is the answer to our prayers, in that I don't think he's a 20-goal a season striker for us. I don't see how he scores 20 goals in our team.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
But but it's better than what we've currently got.
But it's going to be interesting, right? To Richard's point earlier, in terms of what if he gets the window, he gets to the end of the season. In Richard's view, so we'll be interested to see if he gets the transfer window and the players that come in, and maybe it turns around and we end up seeing a side to Thomas Frank that we all know was there at Brentford, and this is just the big bump in the road. One can only hope.
And do you know what? I really hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I really hope he turns it around. Not that I don't want him. I don't dislike the guy. I quite like him. I think he's thoughtful. I think maybe a little bit too thoughtful. Maybe he's too clever for the footballers he's got on his hands.
Yeah,
and that he's struggling to get his message across. Maybe it's something as simple as that he's trying to get them to recite the works of Shakespeare, and when they're busy watching videos of Bluey or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think time will tell, I guess.
No, indeed.
Actually, interesting, with the FA Cup game, if we do go out early in the FA Cup and we are in less competitions, that might play into his hands a bit in terms of league form, because we might get more time to work with the players.
Every possibility. Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see. Well, I didn't have a great deal else other than, as always from me, come on you Spurs. All the best for you, Graeme, with what you've been going through as a family, mate.
Thank you. And I think we'll probably do another recording somewhere between the Liverpool game and the Palace game. I'll have to drag you off the beach over Christmas, I guess, Glenn, at some point to do that. But so what's the weather like with you, Richard? Is it kind of summery or probably not quite as warm as Melbourne, I wouldn't have thought?
No, not quite as warm, but hot. It was 28, 29 degrees up until Monday, most of last week. And we've had a couple of cooler days and a bit of rain yesterday, which is great because the grass is looking very patchy. And we've got another 2 or 3 days before it gets hot again. For us, 27, 28 is enough.
Yeah.
38 I struggle with.
Yeah, we're getting close to 40 today, which I can do without. But we're so bearable. It does that, and then it will drop off and do it again. So
all I'll say is, Richard, bring a coat.
Yeah.
A big one.
Indeed.
So like this morning it was 4 degrees, and that was probably one of the warmer mornings we've had for a while.
Yeah.
So
bring your coat in your ass.
It's been a bit hit and miss, the weather. We've had quite a lot of rain. I've been quite lucky. I've been dodging the rain with the dog walks. So I've managed to have three dog walks a day without actually getting wet, and it's rained pretty much the rest of the days. Maybe I've got a bit of luck after all.
Indeed. Well, I unfortunately have to go. I've got a quick work call to jump on, and then I'm pretty much done with work. But back over to you, Graeme, to close us out as always.
Yeah, so thanks. I want to say thank you to Richard for joining us at short notice. I appreciate you having you on again. You're always a good guest. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the new year. So probably won't speak to you again for Christmas.
Game. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. So, and I'll sort all the tickets out while I think about it. Awesome. Look forward to that. So thanks to everyone who's listened in. Please like and subscribe to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Tottenham supporters. And to close us out, as Glenn's already said, I'm on you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.